Good morning, Coolest Coast. It is time for Coffee with Kristin and Tina. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Coffee with Kristin and Tina. We're your hosts. This is Kristin Odell of KLO. I'm Tina Prigge of Vagabond Creative Studio. So happy to see you this morning.
Good morning.
So, Kristin, it's sunny. I can see the sun coming in. It's so much better than some of the dank days we've had.
There has been, in fact, some dank days. Tina, you
Yes.
have been in a book club, and which, by the way, I'm leading. It's a business book about culture post-COVID. And one of the incredible things about having this book club is there are people from Kansas City in there. There is a man from Virginia in there. And there's an amazing woman from the UK in our group. And so we revisited the word dank during our conversation last Friday.
Yeah, because she used it just as a matter of fact. And I feel like a lot of people here don't use it. And as a matter of fact, the most frequently I used to hear it was when my teenager would talk about dank memes. And so I always had this impression that it meant kind of like Michael Jackson bad meant good, right? That dank memes meant they were kind of like good in some way. So I asked my teen about it, and 1 hour later, I had to listen to this whole history. And it turns out that once upon a time, dank memes did mean that they're really good, but now dank memes don't really necessarily exist. They've gotten really mainstream. The whole an hour it took, Kristin, for this explanation. It was kind of a dank explanation.
So the word dank, as used by our friend Jan, meant dreary, kind of crappy, maybe in relation, in relation to maybe like the basement, not anything having to do with memes.
right.
Which I can't decide if that makes me feel old or it makes me feel like knowledgeable. The original version of the word dank actually was to describe something that is not pleasant.
Right. And it's a great word. It really has such a good application. I just feel like you don't hear it that often in, American use of the English language, but why not? It's a great word.
It is a great word. And thankfully, like you said, today is not a dank day. It's cold, but we have beautiful sunshine today, which I'm always thankful for.
I learned another new word too. It's a word that I've known, but I wasn't sure about its use. You know the word scintillating? scintillating.
I have heard of this word.
So it comes up in reading from time to time. I don't often hear it used. And so I was under the impression that it meant something like titillating, right? Like it was conversation that was maybe like, going to get a little racy, or it was like, you know what I mean? That it was scintillating. But literally scintillating means like sparkly or exciting. So we could be having scintillating conversation right now.
Scintillating. So the challenge this week, listeners, is for you to use the word scintillating or dank in your conversation.
Yeah. You know what? Use it in a sentence right now. Drop it in the comments. We'll post it while we're watching the show.
I know. It is kind of fun to have new words in your vocabulary. And I don't know. So I read on a Kindle. And one of my favorite things about that experience is you can hover on a word and get the definition. So if you don't understand what a word means, you can get it. And, usually I have pretty good instincts about language that I get an idea of it, but it's so handy. And when I read, I've got my culture shock book here. When I'm reading a regular book now and I don't have the ability to hover on a word, I miss it. Because I feel like I learned so much about language and word use just from being able to have those definitions handy.
Right. And that's another reason why it is important to read. And I did not know that Kindle had that option. That's fantastic.
Yes. And I have an old Kindle, so I'm sure the new ones do it. But yes, if you press and hold on a word in Kindle or the Kindle app, the dictionary will pop up and it'll give you the definition. It'll give you the pronunciation. It'll give you the original origin, all that kind of stuff.
Are there other words that you can think of, Kristin, and or viewers, feel free to chime in too, but words that, you've read them and then were surprised to find out what they mean or surprised to find out how to pronounce them?
So we have had a spelling list debate going. This was last week. So Josie had the word almanac on her spelling, Almanac. Okay. I know that is almanac, as in farmer's almanac. She said her teacher pronounced it as almanac. And I actually haven't taken the time to look it up because I just fundamentally believe to my core it's almanac. But
I've
I've never heard this before.
Me neither.
Yes. Now, maybe she was saying almanac because she was trying to get them to learn the spelling of almanac. So, almanac lays out kind of the sections of the word in a way that, like, maybe the spelling would come more naturally. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
So, that is one that I have right real world tip of my tongue example from the last week.
Well, that's funny because a couple of kids recently have said, like Amoco, the gas station, right? Amoco,
Yeah.
Amoco. When they've pronounced it, they say Amoco. And like at first I didn't even know what they were talking about, right? And it was multiple kids though that said it that way. I was like, wow, you guys know it's Amoco, right? And then I thought, do I have this wrong? Is it Amoco?
Isn't it bad when we start questioning our own sanity and like, I do think I've been pronouncing that right for years, right?
I didn't even know there was an alternate option for that.
I did not either. I did
But
not.
but I question myself sometimes when that comes up, right? Because maybe it was about 15 years ago, I learned that the word segue, Segue, is segue, right? So when I would come across it in books, I always thought it was just seg, and like they dropped the way, right? Like I was thinking it was like seg, and then WAY was needed.
Yes.
So I remember being shocked when I realized that SEGUE segue was the whole thing, segue, right?
I feel like I'm going to just have to maybe over the next week pay more attention to when these things come up, and then we'll have to revisit it and see if we have any new awarenesses since.
Yeah. Viewers, tell us some fun with words that you've had or some discoveries or like, oh my gosh moments.
Yeah, the other thing that we've talked about in our house recently is, and I'm going to use it to describe it in a neutral way and to see how you say it. So there's little animals that have little spikes on their body, and when they get afraid or they feel like they need to defend themselves, their quills, they fly off and they can go into the intruder. What is the name of that animal?
Is it a porcupine?
Yes.
Or do I have to say, what is a porcupine? Is that how I answer the question?
So the discussion in our house is, I'm from Wisconsin. I say porcupine. And Doug is from Ohio, and he says porcupine.
And you say what?
Porcupine.
Oh, I say porcupine.
You say porcupine?
Yeah. I visited Ohio. Maybe that's why.
I have visited Ohio too, but it hasn't changed my pronunciation at all. So we have had, like, I cannot tell you how many people my children have asked to pronounce this word. So, and I think it's even. I feel like the tally columns are even.
And how do your kids say it?
That's a good question. We've talked about it so much, I don't even remember who's on what side. But I think Grace is with me, porcupine. I think Josie's with Dad, porcupine. But it's
It's kind
simple.
of like the word pumpkin, right? Some people say pumpkin, but I hear a lot of people say pumpkin.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh,
Tim said that's because people from Ohio are lawless savages. So, Tim, does that mean you say porcupine or do you say porcupine?
porcupine. Yeah. You're going to get me in trouble with my in-laws, Tim.
Yeah, we're not necessarily agreeing to the lawless savages comment.
Yeah. So it's just kind of funny. I think it's kind of fun having these like linguistic discussions with your kids, and having them think enough or have enough fun to go and ask other people. I think it's just kind of neat.
I think anytime you can have a conversation like that, it also then helps you kind of re-explore where you sit on that and possibly sheds new light, new perspective.
Yeah. It's kind of like, wait, what have I been saying?
Oh my God, Tim says, I say it the right way, Kristen's way.
Oh, I love it.
Well, now we need a poll. Now we need everybody to participate. Is
I
it
know.
porcupine or porcupine?
Is there a way in Restream to offer a poll?
I would have to research it. Not that I could do quickly.
Okay, so friends watching, if you say porcupine, give it a thumbs up. And if you say porcupine, give it a heart. Let's see what the vote is.
I think that's one of the reasons why reading is important too, because it introduces you to terms and ways of putting words together that you might not normally use. Anyway, last week there was a notice that the UW Manitowoc Library was closing, like literally disassembling and selling all their books for $1. And it was short notice and like 1 day sale. And apparently UW Marinette, I just have to kvetch here a little bit because I can't believe an institution of higher learning would part with a library, right? They did it in Marinette and they put books in a dumpster. So it was really cool because my teen was like, Mom, we have to go. Like, Mom, put this on your calendar. So we went and I've got this picture. I just like scored a bunch of books and like now I'm in my happy place reading, right? And like coming across like new words and new terms and everything. But can we just talk a minute about a higher institution of learning disassembling a library?
I wonder, like, has there been any explanation about why or what the changes are for, or are they like, are those materials going to be available just from their, because there is a large library in Green Bay. Like, I don't know
Right.
anything about it. Tell us what you know.
Yeah. So I guess the material were not going to Green Bay and they weren't going to local libraries. Apparently it was a budget cost savings measure. It must cost them like $70,000 a year to have a librarian or staff for the library. But and I heard some people say, oh, well, it's okay. You could just get all of that stuff online. And I held up the book I had in my hands. I said, this book, you can get this online. Like anyone can go online and get this book for free.
Right.
I don't think so. Like it's possible it's not even on any of the streaming things that you pay for. Maybe the library would have, you know what I mean? But like you can't just assume that everything is online. That's what the value of a library is. And there's something so valuable to it, holding a book and being able to study from it, right? You don't always have to do everything online.
Yeah.
Tim said, I'm appalled by what they did all the way around. Good for you, Tina.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously haven't learned or heard about this. And I think it's one thing, we have a pretty amazing system here where, books get transferred between Chilton and Rivers and Manitowoc. And so if you don't have a resource here, they don't necessarily have to hold all those books, but they can get them from other libraries and you can share them and return them and things like that. And, I can understand having centralized services or having materials in one place where it's easier managed and then moving them amongst facilities. But like, wow. Sorry, what does this say here?
Yeah, Tim said they said the throwing away of materials allegedly had to do with the funds they were purchased with. And so he wants to call BS on that answer. So apparently when they were called out on, what are you doing? Why are you just getting rid of all of these materials? Because when you look at the price inside of a book cover, it's $25, $85, $125, right? And to just part with it for $1, and a lot of them were in pristine condition too. But when asked, apparently they said that because of the funds that some of these materials were purchased with, they weren't allowed to give them to the public or sell them to the public. So the dumpster is okay.
They're a public institution.
I know.
Wow.
So thank you for sharing that frustration with me. I was shocked. And I was also disappointed that they didn't make more of it, right? If they had to go down this path, give the public notice, have more hours. They did it from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on a Thursday. So no students could attend, right? Because all kids are in school.
Right.
Many adults work during those hours, right? So let's talk about something happy.
Yeah, and I could also see them not being able to sell them necessarily or do something like that, but hmm, the saga continues. That's a bummer.
That is a bummer. Anyway, anyway, look at how fun it was with all the snow.
I know. I'm in my happy place. I love the snow. We spent so much time on Saturday. We got to go sledding with friends right down the road. My Josie girl made this perfect snow angel in our driveway. Just so much fun. Now, that was before the cold really hit.
Can we talk about how perfect it is? Like, look at, there is no indication of her like pushing herself up. Look at, the wings are perfectly preserved. You only see her feet prints like where she dropped in.
Yeah. She had her mama there to give her a hand to pull her out. So that helped. But I know, I just thought it was so good. I was like, this was before we started snow blowing and clearing snow. And I thought, I'm going to snap a picture of this because it's not going to be here in a couple of hours.
Right? I had one other thought too of why there's not a child in that angel. And I'm thinking maybe the Wampa gobbled it up.
Look at your big kid with his snow hat and his snowball.
There's a little bit of burr and a little bit of grr.
He also has, can we just talk about this? A jacket and snow pants on?
Oh, yes, at mom's insistence.
I was hoping not assistance. That would be weird.
Yeah, no, I had to insist that he didn't go out in shorts and Crocs.
Oh, yeah. Especially, I mean, it was cool. It was not uncomfortable on Saturday, but it was cool. There was a pretty good breeze. But by Sunday, it was so cold.
Tim says your attitude towards snow, Kristin, makes me believe that you are a lawless savage and need to move to Ohio. Tina says porcupine correctly.
You can't change your mind.
By the way, Kayla, is it Kayla, Kristin?
Kayla. Yeah.
Kayla, sorry about that. Said, I heard about the libraries and it's very disappointing. We purchased several books from Silver Lake when they closed. That's right. 2 libraries down in this area. Not a happy situation.
So sad. There's less snow in Ohio, Tim, so why would I move there? Like, I appreciate the seasons. They're so beautiful. Like this picture. So I actually went outside and took pictures Saturday morning just to share them with our family in Ohio because they don't get to see this kind of stuff. And like, this was like the aftermath. The snow had stopped. It was still kind of foggy and dreary. We didn't have that real crisp sunshine poking through yet, but all the trees were covered. You can see our driveway hasn't been plowed yet. Like, it's so beautiful.
We can't see a driveway at all in this picture.
I know. Isn't it? I love it.
I feel too like you can really feel the cold in this picture. Like when you look, there's something about the color and the Christmas. Doesn't it just, that it was a cold day?
Yeah. Just the trees were like so perfectly and still are so perfectly covered. Like one of the things I took a picture of was like the edge of our garage. The snow had blown kind of and made this little curvature over the edge of the roof. And to me, you think about like Thomas Kincaid Christmas pictures. There's always snow-covered eaves and roofs and things like that. We don't get to actually see that often. But because of the intense blowing and stuff overnight, there was snow in all these great places that normally we don't get to see.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I noticed that like a lot of trees and buildings almost had that natural flocking that people go for at Christmas time.
Right. All the windows were like, all of our windows were so covered with snow the next morning. It's just a neat, I really try to take time to appreciate what it is because obviously like cleaning up snow for hours and all that like that's not fun. Driving for days in crappy roads, it's not fun, but like there's a lot of beauty in it. We don't get to see that often.
It's true. Hey, and you sent me this little note too that all the storms typically have a name, right? So when it's a big enough storm, it comes with a name, and we've seen that with hurricanes and things like that. Did this storm just have a name that we had?
Yeah, this was Blizzard Bennett. For those of you who didn't know, it was Bennett, Blizzard Bennett. And it made me think, like, why do they get the names that they get and how does that happen? So meteorologists get together and they make a list of names alphabetically. And you can see it says names are selected from a variety of sources, including mythology, historical events, popular culture. So they make the list in the beginning of the season, and then if the storm hits a level of severity, it can get, and I think it says it depends widely on location and other factors, but if it is intense enough to get a name, then they name it.
So that's why, like, Hurricane Katrina, for example, has that name. And so that means it was like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, like the ninth or something
Yes.
storm in that season.
Right. Right.
Interesting.
So I just think it's kind of neat. I never knew that before.
So are blizzards and like hurricanes all considered, so now that Bennett is taken, is the next storm a C, regardless of whether it's a snow event or is it like one channel for blizzards, one channel for hurricanes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would have to go back and read that information some more to know. Because I look at that list, like, so we're on B. I'm guessing there was like a winter storm or something else somewhere maybe that got named with the letter A.
Right, since January 1st, probably, right?
Yeah, potentially. But like, we're not that far into it. So I would need to go and look into that. And like, is there a separate list for winter storms compared to summer storms, or is it like one list for everything across? Because that's a National Weather Service. So,
yeah,
anything that happens throughout the U.S. where it's a level of intensity. Yeah. So maybe by the time you get to hurricane season, we're deeper into the alphabet.
Oh, right. So it's not that there's been 9 hurricanes previously, just 9 severe weather events.
Severe, yes. Maybe it could be a major haboob out west, and they would name that, right? Like,
I love that you use that word. Hey, has there ever been a storm, Kristin, that you're aware of?
No, but I was going to ask you the same thing.
I don't think there's been a Tina. Kayla said, I believe A was used the Tuesday before. Oh, when it was a bust in Manitowoc, but a lot of other places. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling us that.
See, we should be able to look that up and see. Tuesday was a bust. Did we talk about that last week? Can I just see that one more time? Tuesday was a bust.
Hey, you know what? You shared this cool historical picture too. Now, this is from the Manitowoc County Historical Society. This is a picture of downtown Manitowoc. It's North 8th Street. And look you can see there's a horse-drawn sleigh at the time. There was a trolley. And am I seeing that correctly? Does the trolley have a snowplow on the front of it?
Yeah, so it says North 8th Street. So looking from Commercial Street, Maritime Drive. So standing on Maritime Drive, I want it looking north. So it'd be looking basically up past like the Flower Gallery and kind of that way.
So you're standing like on the Flower Gallery corner.
Right. Like if you look all the way down on the left side in the center, all the way down the street kind of, I believe based on what they're saying that would be like the Pizza Garden steeple.
I think so.
Kayla, right. You're going to know what the word is, but yeah, I believe that's the way that we're looking north on 8th Street from Maritime Drive. That looks about right. But yeah, a trolley with a snowplow. And so first of all, I have never known that there were train trolleys that ran up and down 8th Street.
Not in my lifetime, not in our lifetimes, which is such a bummer because it's so cool.
Yeah. And then, so there's a motorized truck in this picture and then a sleigh. And I was like, I can't even imagine having these 3 modes of transportation happening at the same time. Like, how cool is that?
Right. It's so cool.
Yeah. So the Manitowoc County Historical Society put this out. I think it was last Thursday. I grabbed it, but I highly recommend following it. They have so many cool historic pictures of the county, and they just put these really, really neat things out. So
it's very cool.
Kayla, I knew you would know it. It's called the turret. You want to know something really cool? Kayla's husband, Rob, ran the crane to place the new turret on the Pizza Garden.
What?
That's why I knew she would know.
And didn't the public get to sign it? Like, are there like signatures on the turret?
I don't know about that, but maybe she can tell us.
Yeah, I thought maybe she just had all the best words because that was pretty cool.
She does have a lot of really great words. There, she said yes.
Oh, very cool.
You heard it right here. But yeah, what a neat like historical thing. And I thought, man, wouldn't it be pretty to go on a sleigh ride down East Street in the snow?
That would be a cool thing to offer, right? I suppose though, like people don't have horses like they would have once upon a time.
Yeah, but there are people who have horses
Yeah, that it could be done.
and sleighs.
I love it. I would do it. I would do it.
I would do it too. I think it would be stunning. Now, again, the conditions for that to happen might be minimal, but
Right. Well, it's kind of like if you have a snowmobile, right? You can't just take it out when it gets cold. There has to be a certain amount of snow in order to run it. So,
hey, let's talk about this for a quick second. I noticed on Monday, maybe later in the day, that the trail groomers were out. And I learned yesterday from a snowmobiler that the trails opened locally at 11 a.m. yesterday. So for all of you who have just waited with bated breath for these trails to open, which I feel like around here snowmobile trails aren't open that often, it's your time.
yeah, go out, have fun, be safe. And that means too, drivers, just be on the lookout for deer and snowmobiles. Like just drive with caution.
Yeah.
And Kayla said it was Winter Storm Avery on Tuesday.
There we go.
Thank you for that. Okay, I just want to put up one little quotation. This is from Elizabeth Gilbert, and it says, "The women I love and admire for their strength and grace did not get that way because worked out, right? They got that way because went wrong, and they handled it. They handled it 1,000 different ways on 1,000 different days, but they handled it. Those women are my superheroes."
It is such a good reminder that what you see or where you see somebody at is not where they've always been. Right? There's so much learning and so much just evolution that happens with people and things that they have to work through and get gritty with in order to kind of come out on the other side.
It's like seeing a snapshot, right? You see a photo or something beautiful on Instagram and think, oh, that person's life, it's so perfect. But that's just one brief moment in time, right? There could be pandemonium before, there could be pandemonium after. Like, yeah, just seeing somebody and their success doesn't mean it came easy or that it's always been that way.
Right. And I would also just say that that is not just for women. There's men work through things too. There is a struggle. There is questioning and not being sure and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's like, yeah, what Wendy said, the strength through the struggle. Like you have to navigate that stuff and come out on the other side.
That makes me think we should put in just a quick reminder about the Women's Summit, which is March 9th. Tickets are now on sale. The theme is Let That Go. And it's just kind of a perfect topic.
Yeah. And I'm so excited because I feel like every week we share messages and things with the planning committee. And every week it's like 2 more tickets sold, 3 more tickets sold. So if you have not bought your ticket yet, I'm going to just really encourage you to go out there and get that ticket for the event and save your spot. They continue to trickle away, and pretty soon they're going to hopefully be gone.
And we would love to share that day with you.
Yes. And just so you guys know, the agenda, like a full kind of layout agenda of that event will be coming out this week.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Kristin, this has been so much fun. Thank you to everybody that chimed in. Let us know in the comments if you say porcupine or porcupine or any other fun words that you're playing with. We are looking forward already to seeing you next week.
Yeah, I saw some of those hearts come through. So I know I've got some friends on Team Kristin.
All right. Take care, everyone. We've been your hosts today for this episode of Coffee with Kristin and Tina. Kristin Odell of KLO. I'm Tina Prigge of Vagabond Creative Studio. We'll see you next time, everyone. Stay warm.